In the pitch-black Bering Sea night, 80 to 100 miles per hour, winds whipped the ship like knives, while waves nearly 50 feet high tore the ship upright and threw it into the sea as if to break it. On deck, a half-ton pot broke free from the winch, spun around, and missed the sailor by inches, crushing anyone in its path. But no one stopped, because what they were after was worth hundreds of dollars each. Frozen King Lobster, a crustacean that lives deep in water so cold it freezes. It's what created a $1.2 billion industry, and it's what forced people to risk their lives in America's most dangerous waters. The Discover, why Alaska's Frozen King Lobster industry is worth $1.2 billion, the deadliest catch in U.S. The Alaskan king lobster is one of the largest and rarest crustaceans in the polar region, weighing in at 10 to 20 pounds, with claws strong enough to crack open a clam shell with a single clamp. They live at depth 328 to 984 feet, where the water temperature is always at 32 degrees Fahrenheit to 39 degrees Fahrenheit. The water is so cold it is almost freezing, and light cannot reach at all. It is this harsh environment that produces sweet, firm, protein-rich meat that is considered the gold standard of seafood by high-end restaurants around the world. Alaska manages this industry with the strictest regulations, low quotas, limited fishing areas, and absolute do not catch pregnant females. As a result, supply is always lower than demand, causing prices to rise continuously. Today, Frozen King Lobster is considered the cold diamond of the ocean, appearing in restaurants in the U.S., Japan, Korea, and China with prices of hundreds of dollars per fish. Their scarcity, economic value, and the danger of catching them have made them the driving force behind thousands of fishermen risking their lives in the Bering Sea each year. It's hard to believe, but just a few decades ago, Alaskan king lobster was considered a working-class food, cheap, easy to find, and not respected. During the 1970s, prices were low, demand was low, and the market was confined almost entirely to inland Alaska. But since the 1990s, things have changed rapidly. The development of high-end restaurants, five-star hotels, international tourism, and especially demand from the Asian market has pushed the value of this shrimp to a completely different level. When Japan, South Korea, and China began to covet Frozen King Lobster as a luxury culinary icon, prices immediately skyrocketed. By 2010 to 2020, the market was booming. A premium frozen lobster could sell for $80 to $120 at major restaurants. The entire supply chain, from catching, processing, freezing to exporting, quickly rose to a value of around $1.2 billion every year. But to maintain those high prices, Alaska must accept one reality. The industry cannot expand indefinitely. To maintain value, they must turn fishing into one of their activities, the most limited, harshest, and most dangerous across the United States. Unlike most other seafood industries, the Alaska king lobster fishing season lasts only a few weeks each year, because in just that short period of time, the water temperature, around 32 to 39 degrees Fahrenheit, the new flow and depth achieve ideal conditions to produce the best meat quality. This creates an extremely narrow time window. The ship must work 24 hours a day, no rest, no delay. In the Bering Sea, time was always against them, and this place had never been kind to anyone. The Bering Sea waves aren't just big, they're monsters. Walls of water 40 to 50 feet high can swallow entire cabins in seconds, while winds reaching 80 to 100 miles per hour are strong enough to knock a grown man over, even if he's wearing multiple layers of protective gear. On deck, a pot weighing nearly 1,100 pounds was lifted by the waves, flying across like a piece of live steel, and just a few inches off course would have crushed anyone standing in its path. Winches freeze, slip, and then whip back with enough force to break wrists, tear jackets, and even slice through protective gloves. The decks were so cold that within a few hours, a 4-inch layer of ice covered them, turning every step into a slide to death. And if you fell into the water where the temperature was only 32 degrees Fahrenheit, hypothermia began in 3 minutes, and death occurred in just 5 to 7 minutes. No one could save you. Yet they continued to pull the pot, still standing there in the midst of the white storm. Because when the pot rose above the water, the whole ship held its breath. If the pot was empty, they lost heavily. If the pot was full, it was $2,000 to $5,000 in just one pull. Pulling 100 pots a night can bring in enough money to feed a family for a year, but in return comes an almost absolute level of danger, a trade-off of blood and sometimes life. A large king lobster can sell for $150 to $300, and in high-end restaurants, a single serving can reach $120. But to pull these creatures up from the bottom of the Bering Sea, each ship incurs huge operating costs, up to $30,000 to $70,000 per day. Because Alaska strictly limits production, supply is always lower than demand, causing prices to constantly climb. The more thirsty the market is, the more prices explode. Value chain $1.2 billion per year is made up of a series of links: fishing, vessel operations, processing, packaging, exporting, and the entire cold logistics system. But the controversial question remains: is this scarcity really to protect lobster populations, or is it just a way to keep prices high, benefiting a group of businesses that control the industry? IQF quick freezing technology is the secret to keeping Alaskan king lobsters at their absolute best. In just about 10 minutes, the whole shrimp is brought down to the level 40 degrees Fahrenheit, causing the meat structure to lock instantly. As soon as they are brought on board, the lobsters are transferred directly to the freezer on board to maintain their quality. When the ship arrives at the Port Dutch Harbor, hundreds of workers began a rigorous inspection process, examining each claw, each leg, each tiny crack in the shell. qualified ones are processed, packaged, sealed, and placed in refrigerated containers. From there, they leave Alaska and travel thousands of miles to factories, restaurants, and supermarkets around the world. The value of Alaskan king lobsters lies not only in their rarity, but also in the three major markets: China, Japan, and South Korea. China is particularly fond of premium-sized lobsters, willing to pay the highest prices to serve luxury parties and expensive gifts. Japan demands absolute quality, favoring the 7 to 10 pound variety for its thickest and sweetest meat. Meanwhile, South Korea, with its thriving gourmet food industry, has become a major destination for high-quality frozen products. These three markets combined have caused the price of king lobster to increase, doubled in just a decade, making each fishing season in Alaska a race to meet global demand. Alaska has one of the strictest seafood management systems in the United States, and king lobsters are a prime example. Any egg-bearing females must be released immediately. Quotas are calculated pound by pound, area by area, and season by season. If the population drops even a fraction of a percent, the entire fishing season is closed, even if boats have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars to get out to sea. This strict control protects long-term resources, but also raises questions about whether all regulations are purely ecological or partly designed to keep prices high, benefiting the dominant players in the value-added industry. $1.2 billion. This Over the past 20 years, more than 70 sailors have lost their lives in the Bering Sea while chasing king lobsters. Some were swept off their decks in seconds, lost in the waters 32 degrees Fahrenheit before anyone could react. Some men were struck by winches, broke their bones, and fell into the sea in exhaustion. Many ships were so heavily iced that their center of gravity shifted, and they sank without leaving even a distress signal. Behind the glitz and glamour of the luxury seafood industry lies the worries of families, wives, and children, and those who stand anxiously at the windows of Dutch Harbor every blizzard season, waiting for the ships to return. This is the real cost of a multi-billion-dollar industry. Climate change is warming the waters of the Bering Sea, pushing king lobsters northward, forcing fishermen to venture farther and into more dangerous waters. Competition from Russia and Canada continues to increase, while the Asian market remains as hungry as ever. 3D sonar technology, AI navigation, and automation systems are changing the way ships operate, but they can't replace the humans facing the storms head-on. And the final question for all of us is, in an industry worth $1.2 billion, which will ruin the future first, the whiteout storms in the Bering Sea, or the day when the fishermen pull up their pots and realize that under the cold water, there is nothing left to catch. Frozen King Lobster is just a crustacean. But to bring it to our dinner table, Alaskan fishermen have traded sweat, strength, and sometimes even their lives. Ultimately, the question remains: will the future of the industry be decided by the ocean, by the market, or by how we consume and respect nature's gifts? If you want to continue exploring real stories, fierce, harsh, and honest, about the sea, nature, and people living on the edge of survival, subscribe to the Discover channel. Your support helps us continue to deliver untold journeys from the icy depths of Alaska to the most inhospitable corners of the planet.